Monica Pearson, One-on-One, sponsored by Montlick Injury Attorneys.
They have topped Billboard music charts, starred in hit TV shows and movies, served up the laughs, and built multi-million-dollar empires. All of my guests this past year have been fascinating, and tonight we're looking back at some of the most memorable moments. We begin tonight with the best-selling and most award-winning female gospel singer of all time. CeCe Winans joined me and some of her biggest fans for a candid conversation about her music, faith, and family.
It's a celebration song, and I love this song. It's a song to glorify God, but also to bring people in. You know, we've been dealing with a whole lot of sadness, and we all need joy, and it's a joyful song. The Bible says, "Sing a joyful praise unto the Lord." You know, and that's what "That's My King" is all about. But I am so excited because just seeing the kids, I'm seeing my grandbaby sing it, and it's just catching on fire. But it's everybody celebrating. It's making people laugh and smile, and like you said, they're singing at the top of their lungs, whether they can sing or not. Whether they can sing or not.
Well, you know, that was the thing when I saw the video and saw all of the different people who were there. They all look like professional singers too. So where did you find this crew?
You're pretty good. You're trying to get into my secrets now. Wait a minute. You're getting into my secrets. Well, okay. Since you picked it up, Monica, when we were going to do the live record in Nashville, I said, let's invite all of the worship teams from the different churches. And we sent them out the songs just a few days before so they could just hear it. Because, you know, worship teams, they're used to learning stuff fast and singing it. And all of them came, and it was heavenly. You're right. They were singing, and you can just hear the beautiful voices throughout the whole thing. So you caught me.
It
wasn't just a regular
no, because they look like
audience.
professionals. But what really got me was the joy in the performance. They weren't performing. They were really into a service.
Right. They were worshipers.
Yes.
And that was the heart of it. We came to worship. And, you know, things happen in worship. Great things happen in worship. Healing happens in worship. Hope is given in worship. And so we came there with a goal, and that was to be one, to be unified. And the Bible says that unity demands a blessing. And so we had a great time.
Well, that was a Holy Ghost Spirit blessing. It really was. Because you could see it in everyone. You could see it in their faces. And you saw these young people. That was the other thing. You saw these young people fully embracing the words of the song. Fully embracing it. You don't see that a lot with young people.
Wow. I just can't believe all the stuff you observed.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it would be her, right? Because you're right. You're right. The young people... And I don't know what that is except just the Spirit of God, you know, where you see the generations coming. And I think the lyrics of the song is really relevant, the lyrics to all the songs. So when you say they're singing them because the lyrics mean something to them.
That's my king.
Yeah. There you go. And they're totally involved. Totally sold out to the whole thing. Like you said, it wasn't a performance. No. They were actually, each person was worshiping their king.
That was amazing to me. Well, the other thing that I loved, you wrote several of the songs on this album. And see, when I think of you, I always think of you as being a performer. I forget you are a writer too.
Yes.
So when do your ideas for songs come?
Different times, different reasons. I can't just put it. Sometimes it's something happens, you know, and a song drop in. Sometimes I'm listening to a sermon, and it's like, oh, that would be a great song, you know. And then sometimes you're actually going in, you're doing writing sessions and saying, what do we want to sing about? What do you feel like we need? You know, when we were recording Believe for it before we went into to do it live, we were writing, and it was like, we need something. We're missing something. And that's when we wrote Believe for it. It was like, we need an anthem. What do people need to hear right now? It was during the pandemic. It was during COVID. It was like, we got to find some way to put some faith. We need faith because people are giving up. People are hurting. People are losing loved ones. They're fighting for their lives. And that's when Believe for it came, And we got together, the producer, Kyle, he called, he was like, hey, I was mowing my lawn and I got this lyric and I was like, oh my God, that's what we need. So it's through prayer. So it happens different times.
Now, when a song hits you, do you write it down, type it up?
Oh, thank God for that phone. You don't have to type it up no more, girl.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not good with technology, but I got that down. Yeah. You push that button, it's like, oh, it's an idea. Sometimes it's just a melody. Sometimes it's a lyric. Sometimes, this is going to be good. I need this. And I'll just speak it into the phone and I'll come back later. Sometimes it's months later. Sometimes it's longer. But you go back and then you listen to all those pieces of songs and it's like, this is what I'm looking for.
Well, the one I want to talk about is Be Still and Know.
That's amazing you would say that because that's one of the ones that I wrote like in the middle of the night. It came to me and I got my phone. And I was just like, be still and know. I know God wants. It's a message that people need to hear because they're dealing with anxiety, fear, depression. And it's like God is saying, I'm still God. All the stuff that we're going through, he's not nervous about 2024. We might be nervous, but God is not nervous. He knows the end from the beginning. And we just have to just be still and remember who he is, that he's sovereign. He still has all power. Yeah. He's love, When I look at my grandkids, and you see what they have to grow up in, if I'm not careful, it's easy to go into worry and fear. And God is like, no, I got this. I'm a God of every generation, So be still and know that I'm God. I'm here.
He is in the fight of his life, but hasn't given up hope or his music. Coming up, John Driskell Hopkins opens up about his ALS diagnosis. John Driskell Hopkins is a member of the award-winning Zac Brown Band. He is a songwriter, a vocalist, a music producer, and a fighter, but not in a boxing ring. He is in a fight for his life and the lives of others who have Lou Gehrig's disease.
Here goes. Oh! Oh! Okay, Javita Moore at Channel 2. Okay, Stephanie.
It was 10 years ago, a lot of us were dumping ice-cold water on our heads for the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge to raise awareness of ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. John and Jen participated.
I did it too.
Yeah, everybody did it. And, I did go, okay, what is this? What is this? I happened upon a couple that lived in Alpharetta, and the husband had it, and he was young. They had a short little film on it, and that's why I became familiar with it. At that time, I'm like, oh my God. But of course, you're like, never happened to me, because you don't understand that it can happen to anybody. After the Ice Bucket Challenge, I think it kind of died down, but there's been a resurgence. I think that there is, because it seems to be affecting everyone, even younger people, that there seems to be more of a fight now to figure this out. And I think we're coming in at a pretty critical time, that here's this rock star musician who has it, and so I think that people are realizing now more than ever that it can affect anybody. But there are lots of things now being done. There's lots of research being done. Although it's not comparable to cancer or anything like that, there are some really brilliant minds working on it. And now with AI technology being introduced and assistive technology, it's becoming a different world for it. So we're very hopeful.
Before there was hope, there were questions about what was happening to John's body. At first, doctors couldn't provide answers.
The first doctor, the standard test for diagnosing ALS is called an EMG, and it involves electroshock. It's really fun. They shock you, and then they put needles in your muscles and measure your electric function with your muscles, how much energy your muscles are generating. And the first doctor did the shock therapy, which tests for neuropathy, but didn't do the needling. So I didn't have neuropathy, and no one has ALS, right? So he just sent me on my way. The second doctor gave me some advice about diet and exercise, but didn't see true ALS symptoms. I'm a very slow progressor, so they were coming on very slowly. It was my primary care physician that said, you need to go see another neurologist and rule out ALS. And he did the needling and the shock with the EMG, and we ruled it in. So it's a very broad disease, and no two cases are exactly the same. It's not like breaking your arm where you just have one fix. There are so many variations.
So you were with him, I know. So when you got the diagnosis...
I wasn't with him. It was Christmas time, and the girls were out of school. And when the neurologist said, we're just going to rule this out. Like, we did not think for a second that that's what it was, but they had to, rule everything out. And this was one of the standard things that
she was on the phone.
I was on the phone when they called me.
And your reaction?
I felt like I hit a brick wall. Like, I was in such shock. I knew what it was and was in complete disbelief. And just, it was...
I didn't even really know the details of the disease. We had done the ice bucket challenge, and Jen, being thorough as she is, read up on it and made sure that she was aware of what we were donating to. And I was just like, we're going to help people. Let's go on to the next thing. And didn't even have any idea what was ahead of me, but she did. And I remember telling the doctor, Jen's very upset. This is probably really bad. And that's when he said, average life expectancy is 3 to 5 years. And that was not on my radar.
Particularly with your 3 young girls.
Yeah.
How did you all tell the girls about this diagnosis?
We waited a while until we could fully comprehend what this meant, what we wanted to do our research, what options were out there to try to help him. We felt we needed to become okay with it so that we could, not okay with it, but we had to understand it so that we could best explain it to them and in a calm way, So we waited. It was February, right, when we finally were in the position to share with them.
And what was their reaction to it? Because they're little girls.
Well, we had already told family. We had already told my band. I'm in several bands. We had told my musical friends and, all the people that were, that grew up with us. And we were saving them for the end. And we were up at the neighborhood tennis court, and we were hitting volleyballs. I tripped on the asphalt and fell down. The girls gathered around. They were worried, and I said, you might have noticed that I'm unsteady and having trouble walking, and it's because I have a disease. They were big girls about it. They were strong. They asked real questions. Could you die? Yes. Could you be in a wheelchair? Yes. I'm okay right now, and we're going to focus on today. And that was over 2 years ago. So they've thankfully had time to meet other people who are in chairs and some people who have had this disease for 20 years and are defying the odds. They understand that this is a big, broad diagnosis, and we are blessed to be here. I've met people who were diagnosed after me that are already gone.
After his diagnosis, he wrote the new song titled Each Other with his daughters and family in mind.
Hey baby, it's crazy. Can you believe we survived? Let's face it, ain't been easy, but worth every year that's gone by. Bless you for gentle reminders of what's most important in life. Each other, my brothers, my mother, my daughters, my wife, my father, the old codger, still teaching his son to survive. It's not really that complicated. Just stay close enough you can lean on each other. That's all in this world that you need.
He spent his childhood playing Theo on The Cosby Show. Up next, I go one-on-one with Malcom Jamal Warner, who talks about his next chapter as a poet, musician, and podcaster. My next guest started acting at age 9. Most remember him as son Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show. Malcom Jamal Warner is an actor, a poet, a musician, a director, and now a podcaster with co-host Candace O'Kelly and UC Baraka. Their Atlanta-based podcast is named Nah, Not All Hood.
Based on just conversations that we would have, right, between the three of us, we wanted to have a forum where we could talk about all aspects of the Black community. Because as you know, when we refer to the Black community, we refer to it as if it's a monolith. And clearly we are not. And because we are so bombarded with the stereotypical narrative of the hood and that seems to be the lopsided aspect of the community, because that's what gets shed the most light, if you will. We wanted to have a podcast that, one, combats the stereotypical narrative, but also allows space to acknowledge all aspects of the Black community. One of my favorite quotes from Henry Louis Gates a couple of years ago: there are 42 million Black people in America. Therefore, there are 42 million ways of being Black. Right?
Right.
So we wanted to just kind of, take that concept and run with it and really, be able to discuss and have guests who represent all of those lanes. And, all of those lanes may not necessarily coincide with, where my lane is. There would be perspectives that I won't necessarily agree with. I'll have perspectives that won't necessarily jive with everybody else. But this is a place where we can discuss and respectfully disagree, or challenge each other for the sake of knowledge and understanding.
And when you hear nah, in our community, that definitely means no.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, so nah, we're not all hood. Despite what the media tells you, nah, we're not all hood.
This is going to be fun to watch. Now, you talked about your co-host. They're in Atlanta. How'd y'all meet?
So CeCe and I have been friends for 20 plus years now. We used to run the Midnight Poetry Jams at the National Black Theater Festival. We started that like in 2001. So I've known CeCe for a long time. So when we first talked about doing the podcast, we were really looking to do something surrounding Black fathers, because he and I are both older fathers. His daughter's 9, my daughter's 7. And we were sitting in my truck one day and just talking about the life. And then we're like, this could be a podcast. So that was the initial idea for the podcast, like from a Black, life from a Black father, older Black father's perspective. So we had actually interviewed Candace as a producer. And then we got on this, like our first Zoom call was probably like an hour and a half. And by the time we finished the Zoom call with CeCe, I was like, we need to have Candace as a co-host and we need to open this up. And then that's how the Not All Hood concept came about.
Nah, Not All Hood is a new venture. Poetry, writing, and performing it is Malcom Jamal's first love.
You gotta finish the story. I want to know what happened. Like, did you run up on a kid?
We were in school. No, because I was like in like kindergarten or first grade, so it wasn't.
Okay, but that was early.
It was early,
yeah.
And I remember going to the teacher, and be like, he called me.
Right.
At 6 years old, I told my parents I was either going to be a famous actor, a famous poet, or a famous basketball player.
You missed one.
Yeah. You don't want to see my game. You don't want to see my ball game. No, so I got 2 out of 3. It's fair to say that I was a poet before I was an actor. Like, it's really that ingrained in me. In 5th grade, my favorite book at the time was a book called Poems on the Life and Death of Malcolm X. And I would bring this book to school and keep it on my desk in 5th grade. And kids would kind of joke, oh, somebody wrote a book about you? Ha, ha, ha. And it was at that point that I realized what my dad had been doing with me all these years. He was providing me a supplemental education that my classmates did not have. Like, all they knew was Dr. King. They never heard of Malcolm X. And we're in 5th grade. So my dad was really influential in giving me that sense of history, that sense of culture. When I would see my dad on my summer vacations, because my parents divorced when I was 6, and I would go to Chicago every summer, and my father had this thick book called Great American Negroes, and there were chapters on Langston Hughes, Richard Wright, Mary McLeod Bethune, Marian Anderson, and I'd have to read these chapters and write book reports.
He's known for his comedy and impersonations. Coming up, Atlanta native Chris Tucker tells me who makes him laugh. He's a stand-up comedian and an actor who also is a fashion plate. Chris Tucker is from Decatur, still calls Atlanta home, and loves performing before his hometown audience. I went one-on-one with him before his performance at the Fox Theater. What is it like when you perform for home folk?
You know what? It's a dream. It's even greater than a dream. I never dreamed, I would be coming back home to Atlanta and performing at the Fox Theater. I started here doing stand-up comedy in the Comedy Club, the Comedy Act Theater. And, I found out that I wanted to do stand-up comedy in high school. So now when I think on it, I'm like, man, this is bigger than the dream I had. I never thought about coming home and performing at the Fox Theater when I was a young kid. So it's just great. A lot of family, friends, hometown folks come to the show, and it's just unbelievable. It's like a dream.
But what are the perils of performing in front of folks who know you?
Oh, you know what? It's fun because it makes, for me, I dig deeper. I make sure that it be one of the best shows, the best shows that I have done. And but when you do stuff in front of family members and you're talking about your family and talking about friends, talking about places that everybody, a lot of people in the audience know about, my high school or growing up, it's a little different, but it's a lot of fun.
Does anybody ever tell you, Chris, why'd you say that?
Oh yeah, all the time. My mom, she used to get on me a lot when I would say certain things, and she'd be like, "That ain't true." I'd be like, "Mama, it's a show. Some stuff might be a little, fabricated a little bit." But so, hey, she used to get on me a lot, but some stuff do be true. Why you say that? Why you tell everybody that? Mama, it was true.
Do you write your stuff in advance? Do you improvise? What do you do?
Well, as a stand-up comic, you're using that comedy muscle, and I've been on stage for years, performing in comedy clubs, and this is part of the tour, the Chris Tucker The Legend tour. So I'm always preparing for it, and I get prepared for each city and each show. So expect everything, a lot of talking about a lot of issues, a lot of what's going on in the world, in relationships in my life. I do it all. So
when you prepare for the show, and I'm trying to get you to tell me your process for preparing for an audience.
It's a lot of, I watch a lot of comedy, seeing what other people are talking about, other comedians talk about. I watch a lot of my shows that I record, so I perfect that. And then I do a lot of writing and a lot of stuff, writing down stuff I want to talk about. So I do it all. See what's out there and see what's going on in the world, what I think about in the world, because I would be thinking about something and I got to make sure I write it down because I've been forgot it. So it's a big process as a stand-up comedian stuff, and then having other comedians watch me too and say, "Hey man, what should I be talking about? Man, you said this before." So I do it all. And to get ready for a show.
So who do you like in the current comedy realm? Who makes you laugh?
You know what? I like Dave Chappelle. He's a friend of mine. I like him, and we kind of...
He gets in a lot of trouble, though.
Yeah, Dave say whatever he wants to say. And that's what I like about him, because he would push the edges to some stuff that a lot of comedians won't do or can't do. But Dave is one of them. And I like the ones to come before me, and we stand on their shoulders like Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor and those comics, Robin Harris and Robin Williams, so many greats that I grew up watching that inspired me to do stand-up comedy, to dream to do stand-up and then one day be in movies and do movies and all that stuff.
So did you meet any of your legends? I know you've met Murphy.
Oh yeah, I met Eddie Murphy and became friends with Eddie, and Richard Pryor came to one of my stand-up comedy shows in LA at the Pantages Theater. I sold out like 4 shows right after Fridays. I did some shows in the Pantages Theater, and Richard Pryor came to one of my shows. I'll never forget it. I had him stand up, gave him a bottle of Cristal. That's how young I was. And then he came backstage and I said, "How did I do?" He said, you were funny. And I'll never forget that, one of my idols told me that I was funny, and it was Richard Pryor. And he came to my show. So I don't think too many comedians can say that Richard Pryor came to their show.
My next guest is Chris Tucker's former neighbor and known for acting and impersonations. Clifton Powell is an award-winning actor with over 100 film and television credits. You may not recognize the name Clifton Powell, but you will recognize his face. He was Cuddy in Dead Presidents, Pinky in Next Friday, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in Selma, Lord Selma. And when some people see him in public, they think he's a comedian. So how many times do people say, "You look like Eddie Murphy"?
Every day. But the other day, this lady said, "You're Charlie Murphy." I said, "Ma'am, Charlie Murphy is passed on." She said, "No, he's not, because he's standing right in front of me." I said, "Ma'am, no disrespect, but Charlie Murphy has passed on." She said, "Okay, Charlie." And she went and got in her car and drove off. And then I think I was out at some function, poetry jam. And this lady said, "Eddie Murphy, what is you doing in here?" I said, "Ma'am, I'm not Eddie Murphy." She did the laugh too. She said, "Eddie." I said, "Ma'am, I'm not Eddie Murphy." And she walked down and she said, "Well, I know you're Eddie Murphy. You're just trying to be incognito." That's what it is. All the time.
And there's another assumption made about him.
Somebody always comes up to me saying, I watch your movies, but you always killing somebody. I'm saying, it's just, I think sometimes, and I don't want to say African-American actors. But sometimes you get pigeonholed. But sometimes my people think we're not trained. Not all my people, some of my people. We're trained. I'm just as trained as Pacino, De Niro. And they don't get a lot of flack. De Niro is always, him and Joe Pesci and Pacino always beating somebody up in movies, So
that's true.
I think what happens is people come to play and say, I think Clifton Powell must have came out shooting people out the womb. I'm like, man, it's acting, it's training. So I think when it comes to me, people got to really, really go back and do the research of early roles that I played. The pastors, the doctors, cops. I played cop on Martin. I played African Prince on the Jamie Foxx show. So, but people want to pigeonhole. I just did a movie with Terrence Howard called Skeletons in the Closet. It's on, what is the name of the channel? I'm going to find it.
Not Bounce?
No, it's not Bounce. But it's you go look for it. It's called Skeletons in the Closet, and I'm playing a priest. And I watched it the other day, and I almost saved myself.
Up next, we're talking love and marriage with Grammy-nominated rapper Brat and her wife. They are a non-traditional power couple. Jessica Dupart is the founder and CEO of a multi-million-dollar hair care company, Kaleidoscope, and her wife is Harris Dupart, better known as rapper Brat. They share their life, their love, and their new baby on the popular TV show, Brat Loves Judy, now in its 3rd season. I sat down with them on Pride Night at the Atlanta Hawks game, where Brat performed at halftime.
It's the Brat and JD. Come on, baby. So lay back and listen as I catch up on pimpin' and I freak this new way just like it's Astrid and Simpson, cause say what? Let me hear you.
Brat is the bomb. Her first album, Funkstified, went platinum and made her the first female solo rap act to receive platinum certification. She's been nominated for 2 Grammys, 3 Billboard Awards, a BET, and an MTV Award. She's busy on the Ricky Smiley Morning radio show and TV shows Dish Nation and Brat Loves Judy. 4 million followers love her on Instagram, and one of them is her wife, Jessica Dupart, also called Judy. What began as business soon became personal.
Yeah, I actually reached out to her team for her to do promo with me. And then she surprised me at one of my tour stops when I was on tour teaching entrepreneurs. So she popped up on me, yeah.
Yeah, I was doing promo for Miracle Drops, and she was in Atlanta doing a tour, and I was like, I wanted to see the woman who I was, doing the promo for, and I go into this place, and it's like packed. It's like a convention center packed, and I'm like, okay, what does this lady do? I thought she sold hair products, and it took her like 30 minutes to get to me. I'm sitting there waiting like, I'm not waiting this long. I'm the back. But she was signing autographs and taking pictures. I was like, okay. So I patiently waited. When she finally got over to me, I was like, okay, it's crazy in here. I'm going to the studio, so let's link later.
And did you know at that time that she was the one?
No. I had no idea. I didn't even know she was interested at that time. She had been around every celebrity, a lot of celebrities doing promo for her and stuff, so I just thought, she wanted me to do more promo.
So did you know she was gay? And did you know she was gay?
I didn't know she was, no. Did you know I was? I wasn't out the closet yet, but everybody feel like they knew.
So I told her I was interested in her, so I didn't know if she was gay or not, but I was going to find out when I said it.
Oh my God, yes, that night.
Yeah, she said, let's link, right, she said, let's link later, so I thought she was meaning,
no,
let's link later.
I wasn't.
So when I met up with her and I was like, oh, she was trying to do business? I was like, okay, well, maybe I need to tell her what I'm here for.
I would never be that blunt with somebody like, yo, let's link later. No.
Yeah.
I would be very respectful. I was like that. So she gets there, we're talking about hair stuff and, and she goes, I'm interested in you. And I'm like,
not exactly. So we were talking about things that we interested in. So she was telling me stuff that interests her, and I said, well, I'm interested in you.
And, oh man, it messed me up, Monica. It so threw me. I was so lost. I mean, oh my goodness, I burnt a hole in the couch. I tried to pour me some drink to calm my nerves down. I poured it and missed my whole mouth. Like, it was so embarrassing. I had butterflies. I was nervous. I was shaking. Like, I looked in the mirror like, girl, you get yourself together. You the brat. What are you doing? But yeah, it messed me up because I had never had anybody just say, I'm interested in you. Like, bam, like that. Like, I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't know what to do with myself.
True Legend is Judy's 4th child and DeBrat's 1st. Getting pregnant was not easy, but once accomplished with Judy's eggs and donated sperm, Brat delivered True Legend at the age of 48. So, how has that been in going back to performing? How about breastfeeding?
Oh man, breastfeeding is a job. I didn't realize it was going to be such a job, but I love being a mommy. I love catering to our son. I love just loving him and watching him grow and learning his little ways and stuff. Breastfeeding is like every 3-4 hours. I got a pump in the back. Like you have to be committed to it because that's his source of food. And I'm not going to have my child be like lacking food. So I make sure I pump when I'm at work, wherever I am, to make sure he's good. I love it.
A vegan and a carnivore. Not exactly what comes to mind when you think of a power couple. Coming up, how Pinky Cole and Derrick Hayes are defying the odds. Pinky Cole and Derrick Hayes are the definition of a power couple. At just 36, the two are philanthropists, the parents of 5 children, and each is a multimillionaire. Pinky Cole Hayes is the founder of the Slutty Vegan Restaurant, and Derrick Hayes is the founder of Big Dave's Cheesesteaks. So how did the vegan and the carnivore coexist? That's one of the questions I asked when I went one-on-one with them.
I gotta start with you, Derrick. I mean, you got some issues being here, sitting in this restaurant.
That was a good one.
She is a real journalist. Okay.
Nah, it's what it is just that, I try to, respect my wife. I know that we got 2 different movements, but the same purpose. So I'm with it, and we're gonna make this a fun interview.
No, tell the truth, Derrick. The problem is that he sells cheesesteaks, and I sell vegan food, and it's very different. And he has his own brand that is growing and scaling, and I have my own brand that's growing and scaling, and that's really why we met, because we had our own things going on, so we like to keep it that way.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious that a vegan is married to a carnivore.
It still don't make no sense. And we've been together for 4 years. It don't make no sense.
I think we make it make sense.
We make it make sense at home, especially with the cooking. Because Derrick is a cook. Like, he's the one, he likes to cook all the time. I don't cook. I just like to eat the food that he cooks. But it's interesting because so many people thought that it wouldn't work. But the reality of it is he respects my boundaries and I respect his. I mean, I like it all the time, but that's his body, what he chooses to do with it.
I eat healthier because of you.
But he eats a lot healthier because of me.
So I have to ask, since you're doing the cooking, do you have vegan food for her and meat for you?
Oh yeah, so the way I do it is, all the sides that I make at home are all vegan. So I can make a pot of collard greens taste like it got turkey butts in it, and it don't, because I use the liquid smoke. I can't give out all my recipes, but I know how to make it, taste like the real thing is in it. And over the years, I got better and better at it. So now I actually eat vegetables without, having to add the meat to it or any proteins, and I love it. So it works for me.
So what do you do for protein then?
Oh, what I do for proteins? I eat a lot of seafood. I eat chicken and seafood most of the time. Of course, I still eat steak from time to time. I still gotta test my my food, my quality, to make sure that it's up to par of what I built. So I'm always gonna have to do that. But most of the time, I'm just eating a lot of seafood and chicken. Lighten it up a little bit.
I try to get him to eat vegan food.
I can't do it. I can't just do it straight. No, because I love seafood too much.
He will not eat. He does not like evil. I gotta lie to him and tell him that it's meat for him to eat it. If it's vegan, he does not want it.
And then I get an attitude too, and I find I'm like, this ain't that. No, but your new chicken biscuit, I can eat that.
It's mushroom.
No, I'm just saying, but you got a fried layer on it that tastes like chicken, so that batter hit like a fried chicken biscuit.
Eater.
So, how did you two meet?
Do you remember when the George Floyd riots were happening? And everybody was protesting in Atlanta, well, all over the world anyway. But specifically in Atlanta, there was a protest that happened, and somebody threw a brick in his glass window. And I didn't know him at the time. I just saw this guy that was just chopping steak on the grill every day, and everybody was talking about him and how the food was good. So I sent him a DM and I said, hey, I'm a community partner. Did you need some help? I'm sorry, you know, all the things that you're going through. And he was like, no, I don't need no help. But, you know, I've been watching you. Like, I see you doing a lot of stuff for community, because you did say that.
But I'm going to get to the real story.
Wait. And then he was just like, we should meet up. So we met up at my favorite vegan restaurant outside of Slutty Vegan. And that was
Sunflower
Cafe. Yep. So we met there for the first time. And that was his first time eating vegan food. And he did not like it. But it was at that moment that I'm like, I said it to myself. I didn't say it out loud. I'm like, this is my person.
I could tell though, your eyes totally, in the way you kept smiling.
Okay, here we go.
But
I
you want to tell them the real truth?
Wait.
No, you're not telling them the truth?
Hold on, wait. So I said, this is my person. And then we've been inseparable since. So right after that moment, both of us individually love to give back. So we are known for that in our businesses. So we came together and we were like, all right, we should bail out some inmates. Like, we should bail out some people. And we tried to go through that process. We couldn't do it. But then, rest his soul, God rest his soul, Rashard Brooks was murdered in that Wendy's parking lot. So we said, we need to do something, because this happened in the communities in which we serve. So we bought a car for the family, scholarships for the children, and life insurance for the family. And that was like our first big bonding moment, to be able to put something together, utilize our resources to help somebody else in a time of need. And then after that, we've been off to the races. And then I got pregnant 3 months after we met.
But she leaving out a big piece. Before all of the sliding in the DM, our best friends, Crystal and Sierra, already had put her on me.
Oh, they did.
She ain't telling the whole game. She was already looking for me.
What they said is, there's this guy in Atlanta and he reminds us so much of you. Y'all would be a crazy power couple. And I'm like, I'm not dating nobody that ain't meat. Ew. And then here we are, 4 years later, married, 5 kids in total, a house, cars, bills, everything.
A TV job brought her to Atlanta, and that's when she decided to try her hand at creating a plant-based burger. She chose the name Slutty Vegan for her restaurants.
You know, it's so funny, because it's like, it's split even. Half of the people love it and they love the rawness and raunchiness of the brand. But then there's some people that are still conservative and they clutch their pearls and they still ain't ready for the movement. And I'm like, this don't have nothing to do with sex, right? This really is a movement to get everybody excited about eating food differently.
Peace to the people. Peace, y'all. This is Common. I'm chilling, and you know I always get down with that Slutty Vegan. ATL to all over now.
But for the most part, we've received so much love, especially in Atlanta. Like, I do not believe that this brand would be as successful if it wasn't for the city of Atlanta. And I just been really growing and being disruptive in everything that I do and being authentic to myself, right? Like, I ain't wavering or changing. This is the concept. This is what people fell in love with, and we're gonna keep this and continue to take it to the next level.
Let's talk about Big Dave's. Now, the company is named after your dad.
Yeah. So in 2014, I decided to move back to Atlanta. I already lived here before. You know, I used to get in trouble a lot when I was younger. So my grandparents was living in Athens, Georgia. So I used to spend my summers there. So like, I didn't have time to get in trouble in the streets of Philly during the summer, because soon as school let out, I was right on the airplane going to my grandparents' house. So in 2009, when my dad got diagnosed with lung cancer, I went through this roller coaster with him. You know, I was working at the Postal Service, and I remember walking over to my manager saying, you know, I need to get some time off so I could be there with my father. And he told me, you know, it was Christmas time, he couldn't give me time off. And during that time of the year, that business is jamming. So I said, you know what? I can get another job. I'm not gonna get another father. I'm out. I jumped in my Buick Lucerne at the time, and I drove all the way to Atlanta, like 13 hours by myself with the windows rolled down, because I kept falling asleep, riding on the little roads that go, like the little thing on the side, trying to keep myself up. But the moment that I seen my dad, I realized that I wasn't gonna have him too much longer, because he was a big guy and he was small at the time. And when I seen him, I was like, you know what? I have to do something to keep my legacy going, my family legacy going. And the day I talked to my father before he passed, I promised him that I was gonna get out the streets, I was gonna break out my generational curses, and I was gonna stand on my 10 toes how he raised me. So when I built this brand, my pure intention was just to make my father proud.
Slutty Vegan continues to attract famous patrons. Robin Thicke recently stopped by to check out his namesake meal, the Thick Meal. I have really enjoyed getting to know each one of my guests, and I hope you've learned a little something new about them as well. Be sure to watch Monica Pearson One-on-One Sundays at 6, right here on Peachtree TV. And don't forget to subscribe to Peachtree TV on YouTube so you don't miss another new episode. Good night.